sense of purpose is a practice. It's not a one-time event. We have to keep asking the questions. What do I really care about? What do I stand for? And what matters most to me? Having done the hard and rewarding work of tapping into our own sense of purpose, effective leaders both intuit and shape work into their own sense of purpose, right? Effective leaders shape a shared purpose that unites the organizations. Let me say that again. Having done the hard work and rewarding work of tapping into our own sense of purpose, effective leaders both intuit and shape a shared purpose that unites their organizations. So, as leaders, quite often guide people in their organizations to articulate shared values, missions, and visions. They save time. You want to save time later by clarifying the guiding ideas that underpin decision making throughout the organization. So that's what we are doing today. We are focusing on managing your time as a leader. And this is part three of a four-part series based on an article written by Marilyn Paul, Paul, and David Peter Stroh, Stroh. Now, the first part, we focused on sustainable productivity, really looking at the premise that working longer hours equates to being more efficient. And that's a fallacy, I'm going to tell you right now, right? And then the second part, we focused on phantom workload, really looking at how much time we actually waste by not clarifying the purpose, not clarifying the vision, by not doing what we say we're going to do, by avoiding the hard stuff, by calling people on their crap. We create this sense of more work, the reality of more work, when we fail to address the things that are essential. Really, we fail to address the difficult task. And then today, we're talking about tools for managing time more effectively in four leadership domains. Four leadership domains, that's what we're going to spend time on. Then the next episode of the Better You Leadership podcast, we will focus on changing behavior, right? And this is all based on the title of the article is Managing Your Time as a Leader by Marilyn Paul and David Peter Stroh, Stroh. And so we're focusing today, really looking at the four domains. And I want you to think about managing time in four domains, which the authors of this article do a really good job at. So these domains represent the spiritual, emotional, and mental and physical realms. And they, according to the authors, correspond to four key leadership functions, right? And that would be mobilizing commitment, thinking strategically, building relationships and community, and then organizing for action. And I think it would be good if you would look at this table. I'm going to share it with you. And so when you look at it, so if you had the opportunity to see it, you would see that the domains, I couldn't even get that out. Domains are lined up with the key leadership functions and then the primary task that the leader would perform underneath those domains. So we look at spiritual, we're talking about mobilizing commitment through aspiration. This is where you're guiding people. And so what the leader is doing is really knowing what you care about, what you really care about. And then you're establishing a meaningful purpose. And then you want to clarify your unique contribution. So what do you bring to the table, right? So that's under spiritual. And then when you go to mental, we're talking about thinking, right? Put your thinking cap on. We want to think strategically. And that's what the leadership function is. And then the tasks underneath are defining limited goals, managing trade-offs, and then making accurate time estimates. That's key, making accurate time estimates, right? Because you don't want to waste people's time. You don't want to lose credibility by saying, oh, I can do that in 5 minutes, but really you hadn't even thought about how much prep time you need, and then how much time it takes to collaborate, the buffer time, all those times after the meeting when you're talking, you hadn't figured that in. So there you go. So that's strategizing. And then the third column is talking about the emotional domain. And as far as the leadership function would be building relationships and community. And those tasks associated with that would be making commitments, managing productive meetings, and then managing your energy, which we talk about meetings, productive meetings. Sometimes we're having a meeting to talk about the meeting, to talk about the meeting. We're not really getting a lot done, right? And so this is huge as you are developing and building relationships and community. And then the last of these four domains is material, the stuff. And so the leadership function is organizing for action. And what does this look like? This looks like sorting and filing information, because, oh, by the way, sometimes when you are in the flow of getting things done, you're creating a mess, right? You may have like physical papers, or you have files, you have electronic items. And so you get all those things done. But, oh, by the way, when we talk about organizing for action, what are those things? Your office, your tablets, your laptops, your whatever it might be, your papers are in a state of disarray. And so you want to be able to sort those items so that you can retrieve them when you need them, right? When you need them. So we're talking about material, organizing for action. And then along with that is tracking commitments, and then managing email, managing text. How do you actually communicate with people? And so if you look at this, or you think about this, these four domains, commitments are all throughout this table. Commitments really is a big deal, right? Really is a big deal. So we start with thinking strategically. And you say, well, what does that even mean, right? The first thing is you have to clarify um, what you do, what you bring to the table, what's your unique contribution, and then look at maybe 1 to 3 things, 1 to 3 goals that you want to accomplish in a certain amount of time. So when I was in the Army, I served for 27 years, and I would move to a different location, a different installation, different command, a different position every 1 to 3 years, And when I would arrive on my way or whatever it was, I would always have at least 1 to 3 goals that I wanted to accomplish personally while I was at that location. And then professionally, once I was able to, get in and see the team I would be working with, the skill sets, the talents, and, oh, by the way, what was the expected mission that I would have to achieve or help the organization achieve. And then I would establish, 1 to 3 goals based on that. Because sometimes you're working with people and everything's important, and which means nothing is. So you want to have, 1 to 3 goals at a time. And then you want to make sure you discipline your direct reports to do the same. Now, this is inside of the article, and the reason I'm sharing this with you because I've lived it and I can relate to this, to these different items. And so thinking strategically, right? Sometimes you really, you yourself as a leader will create more resentment and mistrust and burnout in your team because you're not able to help them share your vision, right? Because you've not articulated it clearly, because everything's important, because you're not doing what you said you were not going to do, because you are an uneven manager of their time, right? Because you're not doing the basics. You're not treating people fairly. So you want to think strategically, and you want to look at what's actually important versus urgent, what's easy versus difficult, what's comfortable versus unpleasant. What are the short term versus long term tasks and goals that you want your team to accomplish, that you want to accomplish. And sometimes you have the opportunity to clearly say yes and no. We're talking about thinking strategically, right? And so you have the opportunity to say yes and no to more tasks from your boss, from your clients, from your customers, from your team. And there are different ways that you want to be able to look at the way things can get done, right? The way you can engage with others. So you're talking about thinking strategically. And I'm just going back to the article, and one of the examples brought up here is Stephen Covey's time management book, First Things First. And this book focuses on addressing the long term important versus the short term urgent. And so, by the way, we know that there is going to be somebody with their hair on fire every single day, and that's the urgent. It might not even be important. It's just the person that is the loudest might be bringing attention to some item that's important to you and not necessarily important to your team, right? So you're going to have those gatekeepers, and you want to have time to think. You want to have some way to, um, deflect. You want to have a way to look and see what you might be avoiding. And you also, just because somebody's loud and in your face, that doesn't necessarily mean what they're doing or what they want you to do is actually urgent or compelling, right? So you want to make sure you know what's important, and that's why I say that's what the article says, really, not me. Says look at 1 to 3 goals, at a time, and so that's gonna be like your navigation system. That's going to help you maintain direction. So some things that they offer some questions that you might want to ask to stay focused. Talk about thinking strategically. So the bottom line out of this portion is to establish, come up with 1 to 3 goals at a time, remain disciplined and focusing on those. And you might have to, step to the right, step to the left, and get some other things done in the meantime, but still you stay focused on those goals, right? And then the second one, building relationships. So this article, and I wholeheartedly agree with this, that trust and respect are the corner of the realm in today's increasing networked organizations. So think about that. If I cannot trust you to do what you say you're going to do, or if you're not able to complete the task, come to me and say, hey, let's negotiate, let's talk about it, let's compromise, let's collaborate, let's figure out how we can get it done, right? Then if I can't trust you, then there's going to be some resentment and some credibility issues, right? So you want to establish clear priorities, and then you're going to manage difficult trade-offs, and then you're going to effectively predict how long things take to complete. And so this is really interesting. Being true to your word, being true to yourself, right? And your word requires willingness and courage to resist saying yes. So if you want to keep your word, then you just cannot do everything. And then in some organizations, it's just not, it's not part of the culture to say no. You got to figure out how to get to a yes. And so you want to, figure out, how do I gain more clarity in what I'm being asked to do. So these two authors, right, talk about smart requests, right? Smart requests. And I'm going to talk you through that smart request. And then we're talking about SMART, SMART, the acronym, meaning specific, looking at whether the details are clear, Then M as in measurable, measurable to look and see if one understands um, the requester's standards, right? So can you measure it? How will I know if this is what you actually want? And then if it's attainable, you look at whether or not the request is even achievable. Can I get this thing done? And then realistic, one can meet the request. Can I do it? And then time limited. There are clear dates for completion and then mid-course correction. And so that right there is very clear. And so that's a way to actually, it's not really pushback, but it is clarification so that you know a way to accomplish what's being asked for you. You're not necessarily saying I'm not going to do it. It's just like, hey, what do you want me to do? And sometimes people might feel challenged, feel like you're challenging them, challenging their authority, challenging the fact that they're asking you to do something. So there is a nuances to, getting things done. But this is a way for you yourself, as you are in a position of authority and you're asking someone to do something, then you want to use a system that will help the person keep their word. You want to help the people keep their word, right? And so that might be a way for you to go about doing it. And so this is the other part of this is meetings, right? Sometimes, like I said earlier, we're having meetings to have meetings, and so you want to make sure that they're actually necessary, that there is an agenda, that there is a time for that you have time in there buffering between the next event, that you have made sure you have time in place for preparation, right? And so before we go to organizing for action, which I'm really excited about, um, one of the things that's said within this article is um, Jim Lohr, Loehr, and Tony Schwartz, who have both worked extensively with both senior managers and professional athletes, conclude that energy, not time, is an individual's most precious resource. I find that really, really good, right? I find it interesting. So it's not about time management, it's about energy management. Right? So if nothing else, just think about that. It's not about time management, it is about energy management. So they recommend ways to mobilize energy in four areas: that's spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And these also correspond with the four leadership domains that are described here. So you're managing your energy, which means, if for me, uh, between the hours of like uh, 8 a.m. and about noon, I'm at my peak. I could get done in 30 minutes, something that later on that evening might take me 2 hours to do because I am pumped up. You hear me? And so you want to look for ways to um, renew your energy throughout the day. Sometimes, people go for walks, might for your lunch hour, you might, go sit in your car, whatever it is, where you want to renew, because that might be a way to do that. Or one of the other things that I think is really interesting in this article, and I want to make sure I give this to you, is for many people, the most important source of renewal, talking about energy, is their family. And unfortunately, the demands of work often show up at home, right? Where people feel more comfortable expressing the negative energy that builds up during the day. So, what they're approaching their family and friendships like as an afterthought. And guess what? They're like they're using their family like as a dumping ground for all the foolishness that's going on in their work life. And guess what happens? That's not sustainable. Who's gonna put up with that crap, over time, right? And so you want to refresh yourself and not use your family, the people you say you love and respect, as a dumping ground. It's not gonna lead to sustainable productivity, right? So refresh yourself. Self care. Self-care breaks throughout the day or the week is really a good thing to do. So now we move to organizing for action. Organizing for action. So taking action, you're taking action, you're getting things done, and then what happens in the wake of that is disorder. Because if you pulled paper out of something, you have paper, or you have your digital device, you have your filing system, you have whatever it is. Once you have done the deed, you've completed the task. What did you do with that paper? What did you do with that document? If it's electronic, did you place it in a different folder? Did you just save it somewhere as you don't know the name of it? And so, organizing for action, this part is about the retrieval for the next time, right? So you're like wasting a whole bunch of time trying to find that document, or find that file, or find that that one phrase. So you want to organize for action. That's what that means. And so you have systems, and you have habits of when you're going to go back and file, when you're going to go back and organize, when you're going to go back and get that stuff straight. And so that's a challenge. Sometimes you'll have assistants, you have admin assistants to help you with that. You'll have your own internal system for that, some kind of tracking, some kind of way to help you file. The other part of organizing for action is to track your commitments. Remember on the when it talked initially about commitments being all throughout the different domains. So you want to have a system set up so that you are able to track the commitments you made to other people, and the commitments that people have made to you. And somebody's making a commitment to you as a leader, wherever you are, right? You could stop to get some tea, stop to get some water. You on your way to the bathroom, somebody says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get that to you." That's a commitment, right? And so you want to have a way to write it down immediately, put it in your phone, have a way, you have a system set up so that you can go back at a specific time. And that might be the night prior to your workday, or that morning before you start checking email and taking phone calls and diving into meetings, all those things, right? And so you want to have a way to do that. Any other, when we're talking about organizing for action, is email, text, whatever system you have set up, or platform set up for people to share data with you. You want to have a system for managing that, and going back again, deleting what's not necessarily getting yourself off of the copy furnished list. If somebody is copying you on everything, what in the world? That means you're getting like a gazillion emails that you don't need. So have systems and ways to manage that also. And so what did we do today? We talked about part 3 of a 4-part series on managing your time as a leader. And this is based on an article by Marilyn Paul, Paul, and David Peter Stroh, Stroh. Today's particular topic on the 4 leadership domains. It's really interesting, isn't it? It really is interesting, where commitment is all throughout the leadership domains. And then the point being that leaders have to be able to deliver in all 4 areas. And that's whether it's you personally, or indirectly through people that that you support, or that support the organization, right? And so we want to make sure that we are very aware of the different domains. Again, I'll mention them to you: spiritual, mental, emotional, and material. And then the leadership function, is mobilizing commitment through aspiration, right? And people really need to know what you care about. They do. They need to know what you care about. And you need to know what your purpose really is, and understand what you bring to the table. You clarify your unique contributions. And then we go back to mental, and you want to think strategically. Have 1 to 3 things that you're working on at a time. and then discipline your direct reports to do the same thing. And so you've got to be able to estimate how much time stuff takes to do, and that means again being very clear about what you're asking people to do and what's being asked of you. And then the third domain of emotional, mean building relationships and community. You have to build relationships. Now, this is some people you're not even going to like. You're not going to like everybody. It's not about that. It's about being respected and treating people with dignity and respect. Get the work done, right? Get out of your feelings, unless somebody is being, obviously crazy as all get out, and you know what I mean, right? But otherwise, build relationships and community. So what are you doing as a leader? What are the tasks associated with that? You're making commitments and requests, and you are managing productive meetings, and you are managing your energy, which I think is really good to think about that. We're talking about managing energy as opposed to managing time, because you got all this time, and then you're not able to do it. You can't focus, and you're not committed to doing it, right? And then the last one is material, as in the domain is material, the stuff. And you are, as a leader, the function is organizing for action. And you want to look at sorting and filing information, and then tracking commitments, yours and theirs, and then managing email and whatever platform or system you're using to get information to you. And get yourself off of all those different email lists. Get yourself off of that. You don't need that. So my name is Angela Odom, right? And I am the founder of the Better You Project, the host of the Better You Leadership Podcast. I teach women how to lead themselves and others. And today has been amazing, again, managing time in 4 domains. I want to make sure, all right, make sure that you are equipped and ready for the next step. So, of course, we're going to talk about change in behavior next. I want you to know that for me, I'm focused on one-on-one private coaching, for people who are looking to become better leaders. And if you and I are a fit, then I'd like for you to just consider going to angelaodom.com/leadership capacity. Leadership capacity. That's all together. So angelaodom.com/leadership capacity. And you'll set up a time for you and I to talk through what's important to you, your 1 to 3 goals, right? And we'll look to see if we are a good fit. If not, then if we are, rather, we'll move into a 100-day one-on-one private coaching program so that you become a better leader, and more effective and credible and trusted, because that's what this is about, right? For women leaders. All right, with that said, you have an amazing day, and may the good Lord continue to bless you and yours. Take care.